The following video may be disturbing to some and may cause the anger level that you have within you to rise. I'm just giving you a fair warning, but we're going to have a bigger discussion than what you just see on the video. I'm going to have you watch it. Yes, there is some language in it. So please watch at your own discretion, and we'll have a discussion right after it's done.
Talk louder, but you're not going to confess it. Look at her and tell me you're not going to confess it. Look at it now. Look at it. Look at her.
Are you retarded, nigga? Get yourself together quick, boy. Get yourself together quick now. What you saying you're not gonna do what? Tell him what you did, boy. Open your mouth, son. Gay jump, nigga. You were what?
No.
Some baggy jump, boy.
Why you about to cry? Why you crying?
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is this. Many of us are privy to this kind of behavior growing up, if you grew up in the Black community. I'm sure probably too in other communities, but we're going to speak based on what we've seen individually ourselves, okay? But secondarily, some of you may have seen this even in the confines of the church walls. So we are going to discuss some things that nobody else apparently wants to have a discussion about. We want to talk about the trafficking, and we want to talk about the abuse in schools, and we want to talk about all that stuff, but we don't want to talk about it in the home, and we don't want to talk about it in the church. So let's do that here. If that upsets you, it should. Apparently, the person that did the actions is apparently their father. And so many will say, oh, he has the right to do that to his son. I would disagree 100% with you. There are very many ways to deal with situations like that, especially at that age, outside of putting your hands at the size that you are on him to try and get him to do something that you deem necessary for his growth. When it comes to confession, we'll start with the church first, by the way. And I know I don't consider the Hebrew Israelite people a church kind of people, but they are a religious sect. But let's just call it church for now. When you are taking your child to these particular gatherings, to force them to believe as you believe is not belief. That is not belief. What you are doing is indoctrination. You should be able to show your children the way to go by your behaving a certain way and watching you do certain things. But forcing, coercing a child, especially by abuse, to confess to something publicly that they've told you they don't want to confess to publicly is child abuse. Not just on its surface, textbook child abuse. What you just witnessed was absolutely a jailable fine right there. He not only decided to come up on stage and absolutely slap the dog water out of this kid's back, but then punched it out of his chest as well, and then jacked the child up by his throat to choke him to get him to confess. Now, I'm not sure how many men would sit by and watch that, even if it was the child's father. I think some people would have take issue with it and probably done something about it, and I would not dog you at all if you did. You would not hear me saying, stop, he doesn't do it. I would not say a word to you. In fact, I'd probably go blind at that point, and probably deaf too. Mute for all I know. All three would happen because I would just let it take place. As a parent, your job is not to physically abuse your child. It's simply not. Your job is to train your child in the way they should go. Train. Which means you correct, you rebuke, you extort, you show, but you also allow the child to come to their own conclusion based on what you've taught them. Because that way, their belief structure becomes theirs, not yours, under coercion. This seems to be a normal routine for this child because he just became an absolute stick, just stood there in fear. He's used to this kind of beatings. The people around him, the kids, were all shook. But this happens more often than you might think within the confines of the walls of the church when it comes to teens and kids. Multiple times you'll hear about people doing this to kids, and the parents will do nothing because they will tell you, well, this is just how the church disciplines their people. I hate to break this news to you, but that is child abuse. Yes, 100% unequivocated child abuse. When it takes place in the home, it's child abuse. Many Black Americans and black people everywhere seems to grow up with this particular behavior. Um, I've known multiple ones of my friends. I've endured beatings before. I can tell you happily, I have never endured that level of correction. But I have friends who did. I've had friends who had parents show up at school to do that to them. And it was considered normal. And when I say they show up, the father will show up absolutely livid, will grab the child by the scruff of the neck and continue to absolutely pummel them in front of their classmates. It was normal. I've heard countless stories like that. And then we expect the child to understand the difference between that and going out and dealing with the public and not behaving like that. It has become an epidemic. We want to blame society. Yes, it's a great thing to start with. Society has done it. It's the video games. It's the TV. It's the rap. All of those might help. But the majority of kids that come out a certain way violently learn it from mom or dad. They learn to fight out, lash out, beat the mess out of people because that's what was dealt with them. You just witnessed something that's actually pervasive throughout the Black community. Very pervasive. It is not only, look, I will bet you now, I'll make you a deal. Go to any Black family right now in their 40s and ask them if they either were familiar with that in their own home or they knew somebody that had that happen to them. I will bet you money, 100% of them will tell you they either witnessed or it happened. I will tell you right now, that's been the normal thing. And it's just been let go. It's under the radar. It's being called culture. This is just how we raise our kids. So let me ask you a question. Is it working? Oh, wait, it's not, is it? No, it's not working. It's not working to the tune of almost 300 dead every year because they cannot control their emotions. So, hey, if that was the record, I'd keep doing it too, right? Because it's working. It's working on something else, though. It's working to the negative. So maybe if you don't want the negative to happen, maybe you should just stop doing the silly things that you've been doing. As for the church, this is also how the door gets opened to the other type of abuse, is by us giving these particular people power over our children, so much power over our children that we don't even have a say anymore. And this is how they get so familiar with our children that they go ahead and do some of the most nefariously nasty things to them. And our kids don't want to tell us why, because we put them in that situation. They know that. Look, they've been put through the ringer by this pastor, this youth pastor, this particular teacher here. And you come and say, well, that's just the church has the authority to do. And now when the pastor, youth pastor, or somebody else decides to touch them inappropriately, do you think they're going to come tell you? Why? They're not going to come tell you. You're the one that put them in that situation and doesn't listen. In fact, you told them that they have authority over the child. We've almost become the people that are at the helm of our own destruction. This video isn't a one-off. It just so happens it's filmed. Majority of the time this happens, it happens behind closed doors without a camera there. Now, how they felt okay to record this is beyond me. It must mean one of two things. They didn't know it was rolling, or they feel that people will just think it's normal and not care. Either way, it's crazy. Are we really that become so desensitized to how our children are being raised that we don't care that we do this to them? I'll confess to you something. When I was a parent for the first time, I had some major anger issues, right? Major. It never spilled out onto my kids in that manner like this. It didn't. But I was a spanker. And then after my kids turned, I think, 11 or 12, 10 or 11, it went away. I just never bothered with that no more. It was all verbally trying to correct them or punishments by taking away certain privileges they had. I realized something, that regardless of what you do to try and get a behavior out of a child, if the purpose of it is simply to get them to do what you say, it's non-effective. It's a pointless situation. The effort should be to get them to recognize something that's to their benefit and to act accordingly for their benefit. You also can't do more than they're willing to do, because you end up still doing it for them and they never learn the lesson. With my last kid, my 9-year-old, I have only had to put my hand on him once, because I finally found a method that works. But also, I was gifted with a child that doesn't need a whole lot of correction to loudness. He's a sensitive kid. But if I had had him in my earlier years, I wouldn't have recognized him as a sensitive kid. And I probably would have approached him a completely different way, wrong way, and raised an absolutely rebellious one. As parents, we need to be way more sensitive to the ways our children are listening, behaving, and what they want, what they need. I'm not saying forego discipline. I'm not saying forego correction. I'm saying curb the way you do it. Obviously, this is the most ridiculous way of doing it. No father, none, at that age especially, should be jacking up their child by the neck to lift them off the floor, to shake them into submission. I hope this video makes its circulations to the right authorities too, so they can find him. If for nothing else, to correct the behavior, to monitor, because that could lead to something way more dangerous. Suppose he grabs a kid the wrong way the next time and dislocates that neck. He's strong enough to do it. Kid fights one time too many, and it's over for that child. I understand that we don't want to have this discussion, because we'd much rather speak about 8,000 of them stuck in a container somewhere. We'd much rather talk about them stuck in Cambodia, being trafficked to England and Russia and all this nonsense, places that we can't do nothing about. We don't want to deal with it locally, though. We don't want to deal with it in a place like our house. We don't want to deal with it in a place like our neighbor's home. We don't want to deal with it in a place like our local church. And we definitely don't want to deal with it in the schools. We'll talk about it everywhere else, though. Celebrities do it. We want to talk about it. Government people do it. Definitely talk about it. The neighbor. Look, just get rid of the taboo in your mind. Stop. Just let it go. Because after all it's said and done, if you really are caring about the way children are being raised in the next generation, then you'd start where it needs to start. With you. That's where it needs to start, is with us. If you don't want that, then I guess continue being sensationalized about all the trafficking that's going on and get engulfed in all of that and be able to do nothing. Sit on the sidelines like you probably like to do. Keep watching all the videos about it and listening to all the peoples of the world, the Jaguar riots and the Tory outlaw and all these people that talk about it while actually doing the same things they're talking about. Enjoy that. Because you probably like the perpetration of it on the next generation, so you can keep watching. It's entertainment. But for those of us who want to see an end to it, the best place to start is with what you can see and with what you can change. After that, you've done your part, and the rest of society has to do theirs too.